Today we're going to talk about a very common error code in air conditioners, the well-known F0 code. After analyzing more than 40 manufacturers, we grouped the most common meanings of F0 into categories to make it much easier to understand. First category: refrigerant leaks. There may be poor cooling due to a gas leak. If the unit uses temperature sensors to detect lack of cooling, a sensor defect can trigger a false alarm. That's why these two issues are closely related and often confused. Brands that usually associate F0 with this issue include Olimpo, Gree, Whirlpool, Goodman, Amana, Hi, Chigo, Lennox, some Mirage models, Olympia Splendid, Prime, Hitachi, Bryant, Payne, Heil. What to do to fix this issue? A. Turn off and unplug the unit for a few minutes. Turn it back on to see if the error reappears. B. Look for oil stains on connections, pipes, or valves, a clear sign of leakage. C. Measure the power consumption with an amp clamp. A unit low on gas consumes less current than the rating shown on its label. D. Use gauges to measure the gas pressure. With our 410A or our 32, you should see around 118 psi. E. Some units low on refrigerant will show first on the indoor coil. Second category: temperature sensor failure on the indoor unit. The air conditioner can't properly measure room or coil temperature, or it detects a short circuit or an open circuit. Brands that often associate F0 with a refrigerant leak in this case are Fujitsu, York, Hi, Lennox, Frigidaire, Rheem, Rude, Toshiba, Kelvinator, Airwell, Sanyo, LG, some models from Carrier and Gree. Recommended steps: A. Turn off and unplug the unit. Power it back on and check if the error clears. B. If it doesn't, disconnect the sensor from the control board. C. Measure its resistance with a multimeter in kiloohms and compare with the manual. D. If you don't have the manual, the reading should never be 0 or infinite, and it should decrease if you rub the sensor with your hand. Third category: indoor fan problems. The fan might spin slowly or not work at all. This meaning of the F0 error is less common and used by just a few brands or models. Mirage, Pioneer, AUX, Westmont, and some models from Mabe. A. Check if the fan turns on or spins slowly. B. Make sure all wiring connections are tight. C. If it has a capacitor, a faulty one may cause slow spinning. D. With the unit off, try spinning the shaft manually. If it's stuck or hard to turn, the bearings may be damaged. E. In fans with an IPM module, failure in the module can also cause this problem. Fourth category: serious failure in the outdoor unit. It could be the compressor, the board, the IPM, or an overcurrent issue. This is a serious fault that requires technical attention. Brands where this occurs include Panasonic, Hisense, Friedrich, Daikin, Rheem, Rude, York, Bosch, Train, Midea, Philco. Steps to follow. A. Check the wiring connections feeding the compressor. B. If the compressor starts, measure its current draw and compare it with the value on the label. C. If it's an inverter unit, measure the resistance between the compressor pins. The values should be similar. D. If the code appears after some time running, the issue might be a fan or a dirty coil. E. If no problem is found, an inverter unit suspect the IPM, Intelligent Power Module. The IPM electronic module is used in inverter-type AC control boards to supply power to the compressor. Before performing any test, disconnect the unit from the power supply. High-voltage capacitors can store dangerous energy even after the unit is unplugged. To check if capacitors are discharged, use a multimeter in DC voltage mode. Place the probes across the large capacitors. The reading should be close to 0 VDC. If they still hold a charge, wait or safely discharge them. The IPM module is usually covered by metal heat sinks. Its output pins are connected via 3 separate traces and a plug to the compressor's 3 pins. Locate the positive trace that links the high-voltage capacitors to the IPM. This trace is typically thick and soldered directly from the positive capacitor terminal to the IPM. Likewise, identify the negative trace connecting the capacitor's negative terminal to the IPM. Follow the traces from the compressor plug back to the IPM module to identify the 3 output terminals, U, V, and W. Set the multimeter to diode test mode, usually marked with a diode symbol. The IPM contains 6 IGBT transistors, each with an internal diode that can be tested externally. Testing the first 3 diodes. Place the black probe on the positive input of the IPM. With the red probe, measure terminals U, V, and W. Each should read a forward voltage drop near 0.45 volts, and all 3 should be very similar. Testing the remaining 3 diodes. Now place the red probe on the negative input of the IPM. With the black probe, again measure terminals U, V, and W. Once again, the values should be around 0.45 volts. The readings across all 3 terminals should be nearly identical.